it's Steffi and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to sit down and do some hashtag friendly sisterly advice. I get this question a lot from y'all, and that is, did college prepare me for the real world? Now that I'm 8 years removed from being in college, I look back and I can definitely see the things that translated into the real world. I didn't realize when I was in college. Hopefully these lessons learned will give y'all food for thought, and you will see that what you're doing right now in college isn't a waste of time, that it actually is going to be helpful for you in the real world. Now let me give a quick disclaimer that this is my experience, this is my observations and perspective. Everyone has a different one. Take it as your big sis just sharing experience. Hopefully you can take something from this video and apply it to your own life. First thing I wanted to touch on was accounting. So I definitely feel like my education in accounting definitely helped prepare me for the real world. The concepts that you learn in college specifically about accounting, I definitely applied. Definitely earlier on in my career, I didn't deal with very complex concepts. I did more of the basic things like, cash and accounts receivable, accounts payable, inventory, things that don't really require a whole lot of subjectivity or interpreting accounting guidance. It was very straightforward, easy kind of concepts, and that's normal for someone who's starting out in a career. Even though you've learned stuff in college, you want to actually get like the real world experience and build on a solid foundation, so that makes sense to me. So there were certain concepts that I didn't really utilize a whole lot right out of college, and I would need to refresh on if I ever was having to work on that area. As I became like a senior auditor and whatnot, I became more involved in complex things. So things like business combinations, when one company buys another company. Accounting education definitely helped me, so at least it was familiar, remind me of something, and I'd go and look at it in the accounting standard codification. I did find that it was difficult at times actually applying concepts. In school you're doing homework problems and cases that you do, which is an attempt to make you actually apply what you're learning, like the actual concepts, things like company A buys company B at this amount and whatnot. Y'all know what I'm talking about, like those real world examples they teach you in college. If you haven't been exposed to it in real life, it's kind of hard to get an idea of it, when you're just sitting in a classroom, but those things definitely do translate into the real world. For example, if you have learned about accounts receivable, so what your customers owe the company for products or services that the company has provided to the customer, and let's say one customer is behind on paying for like 3-4 months. And there's a concept in accounting where as a company, you have to determine if you think you're going to be able to collect those outstanding invoices from that customer. And if not, you have to, instead of saying it's accounts receivable, I'm going to receive this back from my company, you have to put it into an allowance. Allowance meaning that you don't expect that customer to pay for whatever reason. Being able to actually analyze that and see if that makes sense, and see if these bunch of customers with invoices greater than 3-4 months, if you should have them in accounts receivable or if they should be in an allowance. I hope that makes sense. Once you start working in the real world, you will become more exposed to that, and the concepts will definitely start sticking and making more sense, and you'll actually be able to see real world application. I know it's kind of hard to visualize right now if you have never worked in an accounting job before, but trust me, it definitely will start clicking. Your foundation is always those concepts, and college definitely helped me out with that. So as I reflect on my college experience, I started to realize that there were definitely some mechanics of college that helped me a lot. So things like group activities. When you're doing them in college, at first, especially if you don't really know people in your class, the professor tells you either to partner up with people or they already assign groups, and you're having to basically work on a project with a bunch of people who you may or may not know. And you have to do brainstorming, you have to keep people accountable, you have to learn how to speak up. Let's say that you're brainstorming with your group and you have an idea, being able to speak up and communicate your idea. I know that was difficult for me, and I've always been kind of a shyer person. Maybe not shy, but I was not always very assertive because I felt like either my idea was stupid or someone else is gonna say it or whatever the case may be. And I've had to learn, and I feel like I definitely learned this more in my real world job than I did in college, because in college I was still very insecure. I didn't really know my self-worth. You know, I didn't have a bunch of confidence because, you know, anyways, it's just, that's what it is. I definitely learned that more in the real world, but you get that experience and you get that kind of safe environment to try something when you're in college. I definitely encourage y'all, if you're currently like how I used to be, then take this opportunity while you're in college to explore and to try something out in an environment that is more safe than when you are in the real world. Meaning, you know, if you say something during your group project, an idea that maybe is not the most educated idea, at least you doing that and making the effort to speak up and to push yourself outside of your comfort zone, especially with people who you don't know, that will definitely help you. The more that you do it, the more it becomes more and more comfortable. Even if you don't come out of college an expert at brainstorming with a bunch of random people, at least you've been exposed to it many times, and then you'll come into the real world, into the corporate life, into your professional life, and you'll do it there, and eventually you'll be really comfortable with it. Being in group activities helped me learn how to be a team player. Maybe one of the people on your team isn't able to meet a certain deadline, like maybe they had a family emergency, or maybe they just dropped the ball, and being a team player and stepping up, that's definitely something else that I learned while I was in college. Something else that I thought definitely helped me in college was presentations, learning how to do a presentation. And I know it's super uncomfortable when you have to do like public speaking, and trust me, in your business communication classes and all your other speech type of classes, everyone is uncomfortable. Well, there's maybe like a couple people who just like love that attention, but for the most part, a lot of people are uncomfortable. I learned how to organize my topics, so putting together an agenda, that is super important. The volume of your voice and projecting, you know, if I'm talking like this and I'm not trying to have you guys hear what I'm trying to say, you know, you're not gonna, that doesn't project to anyone. The way that I do it is I, you know, try to make eye contact with people. I know that's really awkward, but you make eye contact with people and you just have the intention to have that specific person hear you. And I know it's kind of a vague idea, but it does help. Presenting something for other people to see as well. Most of the time in college, you know, you put together like a PowerPoint presentation or something like that, but I am in a lot of meetings during my career where I'm not necessarily someone standing in front of a bunch of people just staring at me, you know? It's like maybe you're actually running a meeting and you have to have a certain list of topics and things that you want to discuss or get resolved. You have to be able to speak to, maybe it's 3 people in a room. Maybe there's some document we're having to review all together, but being comfortable with, okay, here's this document, might not be a PowerPoint presentation, but being able to, you know, speak to what you're presenting and not reading what you're presenting. So I'm not going to be reading, like for example, I have my notes on my phone. So for example, it's as if, you know, you want to learn using that as a guide and not being like presentation, organization of topics, i.e. agenda, volume of voice, projecting, you know, everyone can read on their own, so you don't have to read whatever it is that you're presenting, but learning how to do that. A lot of the times when you're going to meetings, it actually is something, there's a purpose to it, there's an output to it, and people are actually listening to you, whereas others at school may be just zoning out. College is a very safe environment to test the waters, to find your style, to just be comfortable with people looking at you, even if it's just them zoning out, you know, but still they're looking in your direction or paying attention to you for whatever reason. This definitely translates into the real world, whether you are standing in front of people in a room or if you're in a meeting room around a conference table or a small workstation. And sometimes even it'll be through the phone, and being able to be organized, facilitate like a good discussion, but also stay on topic, being articulate. Sometimes I have to learn not to talk super fast when I'm on calls, especially with people who don't speak English as their first language. You know, not talking 1,000 words a minute, but kind of regulating the speed of your of your communication as well. Lastly, I wanted to talk about some soft skills that I think I learned while I was in college. So one of them being how to follow up, meaning maybe you've asked someone for something and you're having to check on them again because they haven't provided it to you for whatever reason. So things like if you're doing a group presentation and maybe on Friday everyone was supposed to submit their draft of a certain piece of the project and maybe one person didn't, just wanted to follow up and check on the status of it. That's definitely something that you will be doing a lot when you go into the real world. In a way, I like to practice this with y'all, with my subby fam, and there are times when y'all will ask me questions or ask for specific videos, and it's not because I don't want to answer or I don't want to film a video. Sometimes I just get bombarded with regular life. You know, I just need a little nudge being like, hey, I sent you this email, just wanted to follow up. Whenever I get those, especially, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I haven't responded yet. And I will respond, and that's just like a little nudge for me. That's a great skill to have, and you can practice that in college. Just reminding someone in a friendly, nice way. Also, asking for help is another thing. I had such a hard time with this, partially my pride and partially because I didn't want people to think that I was an idiot. That is a very normal thing to do in life, and to be humble enough to know when you need someone's assistance, that's huge. And I still work on this to this day, but things like maybe you're in class and you're not understanding a specific concept, asking for help, whether that's going to the professor maybe after class saying, I'm having a hard time understanding this, maybe they can help you out, or maybe going to a tutor on campus. Lastly, something else that I definitely learned while I was in college was time management. If you can build the skill while you're in college, it will definitely set you up for success when you go into the real world. So things like your college professor giving you a syllabus and you have very specific deadlines, being able to line that out. I always use a planner. Even when I was in college, I would have a planner so that I would have those dates on my calendar and I would know like little milestones to meet that date. And I have several videos about how I stay organized, how I study for the CPA exam, so you can kind of see that concept in those videos. Learning how to juggle schoolwork with my personal life, that definitely I learned as well, because you know that's huge, right? Being able to juggle work in your personal life. Those are all of the main things that I feel like college helped prepare me for the real world. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please give the video a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to be a part of our subby fam because we would love to have you. I'm gonna move over here so you can see her. And we will both see y'all in our next video. What college taught Juicy was how to be patient when her mama was not paying all that much attention as I should have been, because you know I was studying. She's like, woman, leave me the hell alone. Oop, oopsie. Also, to address the elephant in the room, yes, I am wearing a Patriots hat. Hubby is a New England fan, so I support him, so I support his teams. And he just bought this hat for us. Got a little embroidery done on each of our hats. Sunday football, so we are going to be watching the Pats game. Well, I'll just give, oh, sorry, I had to put Mike's pizza in the oven. Anyway, so that's my background. So first thing I wanted to touch on, dang it, she's out of frame. What's that word? Sometimes you would feel a little, whatever reason, oh, anyways, I don't know. And lastly, something that I definitely learned while I was the way. Yeah, you're impatient, hun. I love you. Oh my goodness.